Hallo.
Hi, hi Emi, Matthias Link funktioniert nicht. Der von Laszlo funktioniert, der von Matthias funktioniert nicht. Ich habe jetzt allen eine Mail geschickt, dass sie bitte die Links überprüfen. Wir sollten uns ja jetzt alle treffen in den nächsten Sekunden. Ja. Wie gesagt, Matthias Link funktioniert nicht.
Den aus der Liste?
Ja, aus der Liste.
Gut. Ich schaue gleich. Okay.
Ja, danke.
Dann tue ich mal in Slack.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi Anne, nice to see you.
Nice seeing you too.
Glad to see your link is working.
Yes, I'm in a Madrid in a hotel room and the light is not very good. Let me try to figure out better.
Yeah, and I will try to have like a...
You, by the way, have the recording already on.
Yes, we do have, but we
automatically.
Yeah, it starts automatically and we will cut it. So we will cut the video so that it starts when we actually are starting.
Okay. And then my actually question is now is that order on the shared webinar template?
We will go through the file, but I can share with you a link. That so you can see actually that you can see how the file looks like at the moment, but we will go through it together, of course. Hello, Asha.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Do I need a background? Or maybe blur it?
No.
No, yours is good. Mine is very dark.
It's nice.
Room and it's very dark room.
No, it's all fine.
Yeah, I think it was
No,
good.
not.
We will have a design at hand for the next webinars, but now at the moment not.
Matthias' link still does not work. That's not good. So
I actually had the problem too when I tried to do it without the if you go on a Teams app.
Okay.
So if you say him that
he's now in the lobby. They are both in the lobby. Felix and Matthias are both in the lobby, which means they have the wrong link.
Oh, they joined as a participant. I can see them.
They joined as participants. Okay.
But these were the links from the Excel, Emilia, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah, totally. Matthias, I will once again just take you off as speaker and then add you once again. So you will have a new link, okay? And Felix, I will send you a link and please try the link again, which means via email, okay, Felix? Okay. So for Felix, I've sent the link, and then
May I introduce you to Julina Brown? She's part of the DO team and our communications support.
Yes,
Nice to meet
hello
you.
everyone. Nice to meet you.
No, welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Mika. Thanks for joining.
Hey.
Yeah. So Patrick, I said Mika as we are in the very beginning of the show. So can you somehow now elaborate? If I look at the PowerPoint or the template, we are like the fourth or third use case. But do you see that?
Hello.
Yeah, well, we should go through the template together quickly and check if the order is correct.
Are you hearing me?
Where's
Yes?
Laszlo?
Thank you.
Give me a second. I'm downloading the. What is this? I'm downloading the file.
Patrick,
Yes.
finally, is it okay with my modifications?
I guess so, as it is for
hope so.
your part, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yes, it's just on my part with the pictures, and so that it's more
I'm not worried at all. All right.
And now we have Anu as a guest.
Okay.
I have also the same problem than when we did the trial, and it every 1 minute it blinks.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's going to be fixed. My connection, it's okay. I don't know.
And as I said last time, everybody's name on my screen are blinking, the names. So, and I think that's something that only I see, so it's okay.
You see me blink, and I have the feeling I'm blurred on the screen.
Blurred. We see you blurred, but
Why?
on my screen, everybody's name is blinking. But that happens to me, so I don't know. I think it's just
So
something
I don't
that
know.
I see.
Do you think, Frederic, do you think it will be better if I do a connection sharing with my phone?
Maybe you can try.
Well, I try it.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, good. So
I try it. Let's see.
Okay, Matthias can still not enter, he said.
yeah, I know. I don't know.
All right, I have downloaded the file. Modifications can be only done by me. As far as I'm not mistaken, I'm just gonna start share.
Matthias is here.
Hello,
Great.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay. I'm joining with Felix link because the link you've sent me doesn't work. Fortunately, I'm with Felix. So I don't know if that, but Felix is also there. Can you?
It's funny, yeah? You're both there with the same link.
Yes. As long as it works, right?
But then can you change the take control option?
I don't know. Yeah, let's do it from my computer. We'll just do it from my computer.
All right.
I just want to check something. Do you hear the background noise from my side?
No.
No.
Okay, good.
Can we go through the PowerPoint quickly to ensure that the chronology is right? Matthias, can you hear me? Hence you shared.
Yes.
Will you share the presentation or should I? You said you will, right?
I don't know. I think we said you would, and that would I would have some control options to change it.
Okay, I'm ready to share.
But what I asked several times with no answer yet is, can I take over the screen to share the demo?
I said, let's do it right now. Let's try it out. Because
Okay,
because it's a question actually to Emilia. She has more experience.
But can we go the order now quickly? Who is
Yeah.
in which order?
We are
yes.
starting with Matthias.
Oh, I have the same problem again with my, I don't know what is it. It's very. I'm connected
Laszlo
with
is
my
still
phone.
external.
It blinks every 1 minute. Every 1 minute it blinks. Oh, it's okay. I will try to not be deconcentrated. Not
Okay,
focused on that.
so you only see one screen, correct? You see
Yes.
the first page. Okay, let's go through it.
So wait, before we go through it, so I can change. Here is the order of the use cases. Okay, that's it. And here is the order of the technical part. Let me see if I take over the screen. What
But
do
please,
you
can
see?
we check the order now first before we start?
Wait, to check if the screen sharing works. So do you see my screen with the demo
Yes.
and so on?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And so then I will stop and you share it back, Patrick?
Do you see me blinked?
Yes. No.
No.
I am afraid that if I speak, it will be cut. I don't know. But
So
it's
the
a
order-
problem with Teams. It's not a problem with my connection.
I
because-
know the order is Matthias making an introduction, then he is presenting his use case, and then you present with Mika your use case.
Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect.
As you can see in the slide. All right. Well, we need to get going. I just keep clicking.
So why do we? Okay.
Because I'm not sure if you guys have checked the chronology.
What do you mean?
Are the slides in the right order, aligning with the agenda? Is someone clicking at the moment on the presentation?
No.
Okay.
Now the Pinot is the second one and not the.
Yeah, but it's just that.
Okay. That's one.
Wait.
Yeah,
What
it is.
Okay. So let's start.
So it's not that order. The Pinot is the second one.
No, it's just that, sorry, can I answer this quickly? It's just that to introduce Pino, I talk about the other one so I can do the demo and so on. But so you are after me, Anu. The order doesn't change.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. So I go on.
And Mika, I go first and then I keep the mic for you. So thanks for joining.
Thanks,
Wonderful.
Mika.
Yes, you also mentioned in our LinkedIn post that launched like half an hour ago. And then we have the use cases. Smart
Sorry,
skills.
Patrick, we need to start the meeting.
Yes.
We can't go through the whole presentation now.
Okay.
Let's go, everybody.
Yes.
So
Good luck.
Good
Good
luck.
luck.
all right, Emilia will start the presentation, and you start sharing, or I start sharing, and you give me a sign that you take over.
You can
Then
start. You can leave it like this.
all right, and you just grab your permission and do what you want with it. Okay?
It's just the arrows at the bottom, right? So yes.
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 I'm ready.
Great.
Sorry, just one question before we begin. Where do we communicate during the webinar? On the Slack? If any question or anything else?
Yes, let's do it on the Slack.
Which
On
Slack?
the general, not on the general channel, or which channel?
Not the general. If you could create then whoever has time a channel with a message with it, but Mika is not in our thing. But,
yeah, I can send the email, Mika, if something.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Let's go.
Emilia.
Start. Shall I admit all? Let's
Yes.
start. Okay, and then I will also check behind the new channel on Slack.
And I
Okay,
take pictures, I take screenshots for the recap.
perfect. Let's start.
Great.
Good.
Let's do it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first Prometheus-X Unveiled webinar. Very happy to welcome you today. It's the first because we plan to do several every few months to show you all the great stuff that is being built by all of the Prometheus-X partners and all the use cases that are being deployed. So let's start. We have a very interesting agenda. So I will do a quick introduction on Prometheus-X, then we'll dive into some concrete use cases that are being built in the skills and education sector. So I'll talk about an intercontinental use case we've done with a South Korean company on allowing South Koreans to be matched with jobs in the EU. Then Anu Patsirausto, which is the Chief Business Officer of Head AI, and Mika Quisto, which is a degree manager at the Lab University in Finland, will talk and explain the use case and the product they're building for students to help them with their skills assessment and job matching, thanks to the data space. And then Marie-Pierre Lartigue and Frédéric Sauve from the Grande École du Numérique will present a digital skills assessment tool they are building on top of their digital jobs and trainings database with the French National Agency on Digital Upskilling, Grande École du Numérique. So this will give us some good insights on the first use cases and concrete applications of the skills data space. And then we'll dive in a bit of a more high-level technical overview of how all this works. So Laszlo Gonzi from the Budapest University of Technology and Economics will do us an overview of all the building blocks we are developing to enhance this data space and this data sharing. And Felix Boll from Visions will deep dive a bit of how we handle personal data sharing and how we make it happen. Asia Malamian from MindMatcher will focus on the skills data interoperability mechanism, and Laszlo will conclude on how to get started and how you can start using these building blocks. So quite a packed agenda. To start with the Prometheus-X introduction. So what we are working on is to enable this trustworthy data sharing, and with a lot of focus on personal data sharing and how to empower people to share their data. And Prometheus-X is really today the only and the first organization handling this personal data sharing protocol and to enable this human-centric part. And we want to allow this data sharing to happen in, of course, a human-centric, but also decentralized way, focusing on digital commons and building blocks that enable this data sharing between organizations, between people to power a lot of different interesting use cases. On this personal data sharing, we introduce a concept that is the personal data intermediary. So it is really a tool for people to manage their data, manage their rights, manage their consents, be empowered, and also keep track of the value that is generated thanks to their data. Our goal is really to bring an evolution, even maybe a revolution in how personal data is shared, so that people can really control it, be empowered, but also take value from it. And this is a cornerstone of the different use cases we are building, and that will be also presented. So Prometheus-X, a bit more concretely, it's a non-profit that was established in 2021. We are uniting a lot of different infrastructure providers, so companies, organizations that are developing all these components to enable data sharing, that are developing them in an open and standardized way, so that any project, any use case can reuse them. And these providers also provide them as a service. And then we have about 200 organizations that are building different use cases. Today we have 30, mainly in the skills sector, but we are also start being used in other sectors such as smart cities, and these use cases will be unveiled as well in further webinars. We have members that are deploying such use case across 10 countries. And Prometheus-X is the organization that was established where all these members come together to govern and to, in a sense, find a business model for this infrastructure and these components so that it can be long-lasting. And throughout these webinars, today is the first, but we will be diving a bit deeper in all those different use cases and diving deeper in these different building blocks to show what is being done, what can be done, and we hope inspire others to do the same. So just to clarify it, here we have a picture. Prometheus-X is in this layer here, where it builds, in a sense, digital commons, so open source components to help others implement this kind of use cases, this kind of human-centric decentralized data sharing. And on top, you can see these data intermediaries that use these components to facilitate these data transactions. And AI and data providers being interconnected thanks to it to in a sense, put into place these different use cases. And it all relies, of course, in the respect of EU regulations, but also different specifications of the data spaces, such as Gaia-X, IDSA, the DSSC, to make sure it's compliant with these specifications. And Prometheus-X provides some open source implementations of such components, so that these use cases can be put into place. About these use cases, the first ones we will talk about today are use cases in the skills data space. And so they are usually about helping people being matched with the right training or job opportunities. And why is it interesting to use a data space for that is that because to match people, you need data about people. And this data is scattered across a lot of different players, the employers, the edtech platforms, the job boards, the universities, the schools, and so on. And so a data space allows people to neutralize, combine, take back control over their full profile. And then you need data about the job and the training offers that is also scattered across a lot of different players, the job boards, the training catalogs, and so on. And you need to match this different data together. And so interconnecting these different data providers and these different services allows for better matching, but allows also people to be in charge of their professional destiny. And that's what we will start to explore a bit more right now with some concrete use cases that are implementing these models. So the first one is a use case. It started with the Paris region that wants to help young job seekers to find a job. These job seekers were using a lot of different tools, and they did not have any tool to mutualize all their skills and then matching with all the job and trainings available. And so these data space components and solutions were used to interconnect a whole community of 25 of these skills assessment tools so that people can create and mutualize a full skills profile and then share it to be matched with the different job boards and training catalogs in France. So here you can maybe recognize some French public organizations such Pôle emploi, Mon Compte Formation, and so on, but also some private job boards. And in the middle, you need a matching system. And so that was provided by Head AI. So you need to interconnect these different players together, the EdTech that have the skills, the matching algorithm, the job and the training catalogs that have the job and training data, so that then people can come in and share their data, be matched, and have better services. So let me show you concretely how it looks like for a person. So here we are, in a sense, in the individual's data space portal. I will translate it, and it will tell him that it helps him be matched with jobs. People can come in. First step, define your profile, and people will be recommended some providers where that they can use to assess their soft skills, generate different data, and so on. Then people have some data inside these providers connected to the data space. They can then, in a sense, consent to their data that is present in these different providers being sent to this matching algorithm that is connected to all the job and training catalogs to be matched. And people can precisely define which data they want to share or not, and consent to it. Then they will get automatic matchings across all the job boards. And so the value for the person is to not have some tools to help them assess their skills and then be able to reuse that data about themselves to share it with all the training and all the job boards and not have to re-enter their profile into each job board. And so the offers come to the user in a sense, and then they can be redirected to more concretely apply. It also helps the employers, the training organizations, and so on to have more precise matching because people can generate a more precise skills profile. Then what, in a sense, happened is that we were deploying this with the Paris region, and we met this South Korean company, Pino, that is a South Korean, in a sense, national tool where all South Koreans have their diploma data. And they wanted to facilitate South Koreans being matched and finding jobs in the EU and in France. And so they wanted to connect this tool where people have some diploma data to this ecosystem so that with the same mechanisms and in a sense with some of the same actors, it can be matched with the job offers in France. And so thanks to the data space, thanks to the same protocol, the same components, they were able to interconnect their solution and then allow their users to be matched with the job offers in France and with the different opportunities here. And this also facilitates it a lot for South Koreans that did not have this easy access to European and international opportunity, and that did not have an easy way to match their skills coming from their diploma. So if we look at how it looks like for South Koreans, here is the tool, the Pinot platform, the South Korean tool, where South Koreans have their diploma, and they have their functionality here that also integrates the same consent management of the data space, and that will present to the person the capability to share their data with this matching algorithm, so that their data can be matched with EU opportunities. So it takes a little bit of time to load the different consent information. But so it's the same mechanism that allowed here to find what is the purpose, what is the data that will be shared. The user can consent, and then this consent will allow this data sharing to happen, and the user to see concretely the different job offers it matches with in the EU. And so what is also interesting here is that this components and this matching can be integrated inside the different interfaces and allows really all these different organizations to easily interconnect and find each other and provide that extra value. And so this is the view of the person, but the organizations also have a view where they can come and, for instance, from the Paris region, describe their use case, describe what kind of services, what kind of data they want to interconnect, be matched, or browse through the catalog to find providers. So for instance, I need some data about job offers, who is providing it. I would like to add them to my use case. I need some services about job matching, who is providing it. I add them to my use case. Or as a provider, I want to join this use case. I want to join this ecosystem, and I can browse them and find the different ecosystems I can join. And then there is a whole contractualization process where the different parties negotiate which data will be shared under which conditions. And then, as will be described a bit more in the technical part of this webinar, this automatic data sharing and this consents and these interfaces can be generated. And so we have built this first kind of use cases and these first components on which a lot of different use cases can come and be enhanced. And so here I'll pass the floor to Anu that will show us and talk about another use case that is being built in Finland.
Thank you so much, Matthias, and thanks everybody for joining this webinar. And Patrick, can we have the slides back?
Already back at yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And then let's go to the use case slides. Yes, so the journey has been really amazing, and I'm happy to have here also our partner lab, University of Applied Sciences from Finland, Mika, joining me for presenting this use case where we are discussing about the training recommendations in a European-wide level. So if we can go to the use case slide on. Can you move that to Patrick on the?
Anu, would you take over the control over the slides?
Please. Okay. Just a second. I'm getting there. Here we go. All right. Yes, so the title in our use case is Skills for the World of Work for Students. And here we are working on the problem that many of the definitely training organization as such, we do have our own quality trainings. But when we know the world is full of good, high quality training, but how can we easily connect that with our own services, for our own training offerings. And especially, how can we provide that type of a training in a personalized way, really based on the students' actual needs, their own skills, where they want to which ones they want to enhance. And that was the problem we were working, and we are working on this use case. So really taking the understanding of the connecting different services, different training catalogs, training offerings, and enabling that for the solution where we can do the training, personalized training recommendations. And our goal is really to enable lab to be connected to European-wide training offerings, and then to equip the learners with relevant skills for their career success, and in that sense, kind of enhancing the employability and lifelong learning. We are working in these solutions on kind of helping the students to understand what are their skills, first of all, taking different data sources like Matthias was sharing to help to connect those data and help the students understand what are their skills at the moment, skills they are learning in their own degree, but then also what are those skills that can be enhanced with this European-wide training offers. We do use skills forecasting services, skills analytics, but especially what we are now talking is about kind of getting the trainings connected and connections, and having the connections to different training offerings. And for that we are now leveraging the skills data space in this use case. So very shortly, the user journeys and the value for different users, and also sharing with whom we are working here. So first of all, we have lab here as a lead organization and who has the curriculum data, the learners data, which is then connected to the different service providers. We, Head AI, we are providing the text mining platform for analyzing the skills from that data sets, but also doing the analyzing on the service providers like Inofuku, EduNow, and Justify, on their data, on their services, which we can then match to the actual learners' profiles. And the individuals, users, the learners are those whom we want to provide the access for personalized, first of all, kind of do the recommendation based on their own personalized demands on those training programs that are tailored for their own learning paths. Here, I actually want to give the floor for Mika. What you see now valuable in this type of a service?
Thank you, Anu. Well, first of all, I have to say that once I heard about this, I got so excited that my head is sort of spinning around with different kinds of ideas that we could utilize this in the future. But well, to say something about myself, so come from the Lab University of Applied Science, and in my responsibility, I'm the head of the International Business Degree program, where I have about 500 international students to sort of host and take care of their learning and make sure that the curricula that they are studying is relevant. And in that respect, I'm really sort of eager to see what we can learn from this path in this project to sort of help the students to identify actually what they want to become when they grow up. I don't know if any of us know what we want to be. But for them to identify the prior learning, what they might already have, many of them already have a degree in their pocket when they arrive to us, and then to direct their learning path and the individual learning path, as Anu said, towards something what they see where they see themselves in after graduation. But then, of course, it will help us as a university to provide up-to-date, relevant student sort of tutoring and like study counseling, if to say so. So to help and guide the students towards their future goals. But then on the other aspect, really is something that has sort of made me ponder is the curricula development and the relevance, the current curricula or the courses what we have available for our students, that how relevant those are for the current working life needs. And that is something that I really sort of would like to dig into and see sort of the results of this. That first of all, this will help us to identify what we already are, of course, offering. That's more or less what we know. But then, what kind of knowledge gaps there are that we should cover, or that perhaps in the future in the partner network that can be a part of this can provide the alternative courses or learning platforms for our students to sort of close the learning skills and knowledge gaps that there might exist. But then, of course, in the long run, I see that this will help us to shape our curricula even more sort of precise, identify where we are good at, and we know that we cannot be good at in everything, but then that we also can sort of build stronger relationships with our partner universities or other educational providers, for them to sort of provide the gaps that we already know that we don't even want to be there, because someone is having a deeper research or other courses available already that they know what they are doing, and we are just happy to guide our students towards that. So it has multiple phases in my mind that will help us to sort of to make the world a better place, and especially for our students, which is of course the primary customers in our perspective to serve. And I'm really happy to be a part of this. So thank you, thank you really. But Anu.
Thank you so much, Mika. This was very valuable. And as we heard, there is multiple kind of aspects where the benefit is for the learners, but especially for the university, you as a degree manager. So very valuable comments. And thanks to this EDGE program where we are now building these use cases, of course, the aim is that we can make these easy solutions, easy onboarding for any university, any training education provider later on to join these type of and take these type of a solution into use. So thanks very much, Mika, for the co-creation and all of these parties in these use cases. Looking forward to getting this the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anu and Mika, for powering this this important use case. And now to Marie-Pierre and Frédéric for the Gen use case.
Okay. Do you hear me well? Is it okay? You hear me? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So is it the right slide? It's no. Here it is. It's okay? You've seen the right one? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let me first introduce you Grande École du Numérique, also known as GEN. It's a French governmental mission that has been created in 2015 to promote digital sector training in France, because as you probably know, France, like many other European countries, is facing a digital skills gap. We are currently offering 3 tools in our portal to help people navigate and know more about digital jobs and digital training offers. First, we have a map of digital jobs segmented by family, job, and position, which allows people to easily navigate among the complexity of the sector. Then we also have a comprehensive search engine to find digital training programs among all available training offers in France. And last, we set up 2 years ago an observatory, GenScan, which provides insights on company needs and available training offer in the digital sector in France. That use case we are talking about today is enhancing the orientation portal with a skills assessment tool to promote upskilling and reskilling of individuals for digital jobs. So it's a long title. What we want to do is to help people further to propose a matching tool for individuals to find the right job and the right training depending on their profile. To build this tool, we first need to add soft and hard skills to each position of our digital jobs map. And we want to do it following ESCO and HOM4 classifications, because we want to privilege interoperability. By the way, if you want to use the digital jobs map, you can ask for an API to the Grande École du Numérique. We are going to offer 2 ways for individuals to assess their, maybe I change the slide. Here it is. We want to offer 2 ways to individuals to assess their skills. First, for people who already have a resume or a LinkedIn profile, they might directly upload it into the tool to have their professional career converted into skills. Later on, for those who don't have resume or experience, typically high schoolers or students, in a second time, we would like to create a playful interface with games, quizzes, to allow them to determine their soft skills and find their ideal digital job. Whatever the way we determine the profile, the tool will then display the most adapted digital jobs according to their skills on an interactive map. They will also have the possibility to select another job from the map, and the tool will indicate relevant training offers. What we want is to make it as interactive as possible. Ultimately, we would like to rely on GenScan observatory data to orient people towards the skills needed by the company in the area they want to work in. But it will be a next step. To run that use case, we are already working with 2 French edtech, MindMatcher and Inokufu. They will operate as service providers. They will take care of data collection, analysis, and creation of the tool. We are currently searching for partners to set up the games. We are already discussing with Ikigai, Diagorient, Pass to Work via France Travail, as we would like these games to be integrated with the French government services. So if you, in the audience, there is someone that is working for this kind of games, we are interested in every possibilities. We want to build something fun that will encourage young people to take the test. So here it is. Our objective is to have the full tool ready before the end of the year. And so for the benefits, maybe Frédéric, you can talk about them.
Yes, sure. So about the benefits, there will be the benefit for quite everyone who is interested into that tool. So we have for individuals to make it accessible and navigable for the opportunities of reskilling and upskilling. For the training providers, this will provide them with very qualified candidates, with a lot of candidates, so students, high schoolers, or anyone else who want to check the jobs available in the digital sector. And also for the French government, this will promote the vitality and accessibility of the digital sector across the country. And what's coming next for our second phase is to add the results of our observatory to orient people upon the needs of the place they would like to work in. So that will be developed surely in 2025.
Yes. That is.
Thank you. Thank you, Marie-Pierre and Frédéric, for this very interesting use case, building on top of a first great work that was done on the GenScan to repertorize all the training and jobs, and now to come enhance it. So thank you very much. We saw different segments in a sense, because with Gen it was about lifelong learning. The ones I showed was more about job seekers. The one Anu and Mika talked about was more about students. So we can see different how the use cases can handle different segments, and how the data space can allow to combine different solutions to make it happen. And so now we will be moving to how are these solutions interconnected? How does it work? So Laszlo, I'll give you the floor to kick us off on this, and to everybody, if you have questions, you can ask them in the Q&A section of the tool, and the speakers will answer them or will take them at the end. Okay, so don't hesitate to ask them there. Up to you, Laszlo. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthias. So I would like to briefly introduce what we are doing in the development of all this, for all of these things. First, the important thing, one is that we are following a building block oriented approach where we create modular open source components which can be combined in order to build configurable data spaces. Such components can also help individuals and organizations to connect to the data space. And we do it in a way that we don't have any dependency on a concrete infrastructure or cloud provider. We also put an emphasis on handling personal data, as you might have seen in the use cases. So we put a focus on the user control and consent, and we support this by building blocks, implementing trustworthiness, assurance, and evaluation, both for the data processing and also for the AI algorithms being used in the system. Besides this, we support use cases which needs decentralized or distributed execution and analysis. And just to reflect to what was shown by Matthias is that we have this overall architecture in which there are some logs which are already available. Some of them will be presented very soon. We are developing other blocks. Some of them are sector specific, some of them are sector agnostics, and we support the connection between different data intermediaries. What we will show now, these are blocks which are being developed. They have detailed specifications available, and the first versions will be available within this year. Some blocks are already available, some will be available soon. So what are these building blocks? Basically, these can be considered as basic open source bricks elements of a data space, which can be combined to create so-called data space enabling services to support these different use cases and use scenarios. These combinations can be configured, for instance, according to the need of data anonymization or distributed execution, etc., depending on the concrete use case need. And these will support the main different data space uses scenarios which we are concentrating on in this project, which are the first to set up collaboration for data sharing independently from the sector, and for sector specific use cases to share learning records or skills data. And we also support the decentralized training of models, which can be beneficial for multiple reasons, as we will discuss. To see what are these building blocks, because we have quite a lot. Basically, there are these different categories. We have the core blocks, which are needed to set up the data space infrastructure. Some of them will be briefly introduced soon by Felix. These are the connector, the catalog, the consent, the identity building and monitoring, and the contract negotiation agent, which all together plan to set up the data sharing infrastructure both for individuals and organizations. And we have blocks which extend this core infrastructure by providing different services which can be combined to create these so-called data space enabling services or chains. To give an example for such blocks, we have a number of blocks which support or create added value to the data space by enabling trustworthiness, improvement, and evaluation. We have a component to support the decentralized training of AI models, where these training can be scalable and helps to preserve privacy of the data which is used for the AI algorithms. So there would be no need to submit all data to one central place in order to create an algorithm, but we support federated AI training and learning. We have a component for the edge computing and edge data processing, which supports, again, the scalable and privacy-preserving processing of data. Let's say the near source data processing, again, not to share data with organizations which do not have consent to that. Then we have a component for the assessment and evaluation of the trustworthiness of AI algorithms being used. So AI models and AI providers can assess themselves according to different aspects like fairness, like privacy leaking and other aspects, which altogether help to create some solutions in which the users can rely on. And we have blocks to translate and transform different data at the edge. This is the edge translator block, which would be presented again soon by Asir. We have some blocks which target data transformation for different types of data to transform, for instance, learning records coming from different learning management systems, to support personal learning record store, which means that people will have the opportunity to extract their learning records from organizational learning management system and store them by themselves as individuals. We have a learning object metadata crowd tagging component to enable people to augment on learning objects and create data which can be better used during later analysis. We have a component concentrating on VR learning traces analysis. So analysis on data which is coming, for instance, from VR simulators, which is a very important aspect for the job market because it can facilitate the efficient training of people. We have a component to support the transformation, the analysis of data coming from such systems. And we have a component to aggregate and vectorize a large amount of learning record data. So you can see these components are oriented more towards a sector-specific usage to use within the context of skills and education data. And we have generic blocks which support, which we call utility blocks, which support the operation of the data space. We have a block called the data value chain tracker, which helps to trace and valorize the data sharing, different data sharing scenarios and build business models upon data sharing use cases and scenarios. We have data veracity assurance, which evaluates the quality of the data, not only the input data coming from the users or organizations, but also data which is being produced by these different building blocks in the system to ensure that the quality of the output of the system will meet the requirements. And we have a component to support the distributed data visualization, which can enable scenarios in which someone can visualize, for instance, their own results compared to the results of others without revealing their data to one central entity. So as you can see, we have quite a number of building blocks which are being developed and evolving. And now I would like to ask Felix to tell a couple of words on how we can enable personal data spaces with consent management.
All right, thank you, Laszlo, and hello, everyone. So let's take a look more in depth about how we enable personal data management inside of the data spaces. So let's start by looking at this technical architecture view, still high level, of where the personal data intermediary sits. So Matthias presented earlier the personal data intermediary in a governance way as to why it was useful and what it's for. And here is a view where it's introduced more technically in how it communicates with the data space and where it sits regarding the individual. So this diagram here is one that was made alongside the Data Space for Skills initiative. Of course, it's not, it doesn't only work for a skills data space. The PDI can be integrated in any data space following this same architecture view. So the PDI sits in between the individual and the data space components. That is meaning the different participants of the data space, may they be data providers, infrastructure providers, data consumers, and the different data intermediary services and building blocks that Laszlo mentioned earlier. It's the central component to enable the individual to take part in the data space, as it's his entry point for managing and visualizing what happens about his data within the data space. So the PDI itself has several components, several modules inside of them. I'll be covering mainly the consent today, as that's the most interesting for this topic. But it is comprised also of the identity to manage the user's identity across the different applications and different participants, and some kind of catalog also that I'll briefly cover just afterwards. So just to cover quickly the PDI catalog, essentially, so to enable the individual to discover and find out about what data is available inside the data space, what he can do with his data, what kind of services are available. We need a component, a catalog for the individual to be able to browse and discover all of these data sets and services. What's nice about the PDI catalog is that it is based on the same set of standards and schemas that is used by the B2B catalog that Matt just showed earlier. And so we were following the same specifications and standards to align this catalog to the B2B catalog. If we go now to what's interesting for us, I'm skipping slides here, sorry. So the consent management. This is the most interesting and important component for individuals regarding their implication in the data space. The consent manager is essentially a tool for individuals to help them manage how their data is used, by who, where, for what kind of purpose across the data space, and by members and participants of the data space. It interacts with practically all of the parties involved in the data exchange. I'll be showing a quick sequence diagram afterwards. By providing the consent information, consent records to the different parties involved to authorize and validate different data exchanges based on the end user's consents. We are basing the consents on the ISO specification regarding consent record information structure that came out late August of last year. In this slide here, you can see that we mentioned also the Kantara initiative. This is because we first started with our initial specifications following the Kantara initiative on consent receipts, which is a well-recognized standard for consents, but the work of the Kantara initiative was included inside of the ISO. So we are now aligning our consent management solutions with the ISO specification to be more aligned with the standard specifications. Regarding Consent Manager and the high-level functionalities that it offers for individuals, first of all, well, it's a manager, so it has every functionality regarding management of consent for individuals, may that be consent grants, consent updates, consent revocation. It gives easy access to individuals to help manage all of these consents and understand and visualize what is going on with their data across the data space. We also have, of course, a lot of mechanisms regarding consent verification and validity checks. So these are included inside of the different sequences and flows, data transfers, protocols, etc., to verify the trustworthiness, the authenticity, and the validation, basically, of the consents to ensure secure transactions based on an individual's consent. Of course, we also have mechanisms for, okay, I duplicated my slide, so anyways, I'm going to talk about it. We have mechanisms for consent revocation, which enable the individual to revoke his consent at any time and notify the different parties involved in the data exchange, so the data provider, data consumer, of this revocation to notify that the right to access and use the data has been revocated by the individual. There are also some logging and monitoring mechanisms to enable transparency to the individual regarding the use of his data. So if we take a quick look at one example implementation of how individuals actually visualize the consent that they give on their data, this is one implementation by Visions Trust on a basically consent pop-up that individuals can see regarding the use of their data. So they have three tabs on it. The first one is the main one where they see who is the data provider, who is the data consumer, what is the purpose of the data exchange, what data is going to be exchanged, and a very simple way for them to say yes or no, I give my consent on my data to be shared for that specific purpose. But the other tabs are also interesting because this is where we are educating the individual on what exactly is their data used for, how the service is, and the participants actually define the way that we're going to use the data, and also legally what it means to what is actually a consent, what it means for the data to be exchanged. So a whole set of education properties for the individual alongside a very easy way and simple way for the individual to grant or decline his consent. All right, so regarding implementation and architecture, so here you can see that we have a view where we can see two participants, one data provider, one data consumer, and they both have a data space connector. Prometheus-X is building a data space connector that is able to understand, process, and manage consents to enable a consent-driven data exchanges regarding personal data. So the consent service, so the consent manager that I've been presenting just before, communicates with the data space connectors to provide the consent of the individual in order for the data space connectors to exchange data regarding the individual, so personal data, in a secure way with a defined protocol that has been introduced by Prometheus-X, which involves all those participants and essentially the data space connector and the consent service. One thing that's important as well is that the consent service communicates with the contract service, which is one of the building blocks from Prometheus-X as well, to verify that there is a legal basis that defines that the participants are allowed to exchange this data before actually authorizing the consent. So the consent service and the PDI are really central for the individual to communicate with all of the relevant building blocks and parties to validate an exchange and make a personal data exchange possible. Here you can see a very simple sequence diagram about how this all goes. So essentially, the individual, when he grants his consent to his personal data intermediary, it goes through the module of the consent management service. And then the consent is shared throughout the different participants for them to basically generate a token to authorize the data consumer to make a data request based on this consent. And after a set of verification by the contract for relevant policies, etc., the data can be exchanged. But this the top half section of the flow here is a augmentation that Prometheus-X brings on top of what the data space protocol from IDSA specifies to introduce the verification and use of consents to authorize personal data to be exchanged. And speaking of these specifications, so this is just a slide to show that the data space connector that we're building with Prometheus-X is basing itself on the specification defined by the data space protocol from IDSA, following the Gaia-X specifications and trust framework schemas and models for representing entities or inside of the data space. And so yeah, we're following these standards by these entities. And it's a very simple way for participants to take part of inside of the data space, for them to automatically and in a simple way be able to manage personal data for their users. I'll finish up by showing a little bit what we use from these two entities. So from Gaia-X, we're taking a lot of information regarding what they call credentials and attestations and the standardized metadata regarding the models and schemas for participants, resources, resources of data, resources of services, and offerings, and including all of this, which is called the trust framework, inside of our components. And from IDSA, with the data space connectors and the protocols, we're basing it on the data space protocol and using a set of standards defined by IDSA to make our building blocks as compliant as possible with the standards defined by these entities. So that's it from me. I think I'm passing the floor to Asia now.
Thank you, Felix. And also thanks to everyone speaking before me, because that makes everything more clear and more understandable. Now I'll have the floor to explain a little bit on a very high level what the Edge Translator building block is there for, and also what use cases it can be used in. So let's initially begin with the Edge translator's objective. And the objective of the translator is to assure fractionless interoperability. So it's a service that translates the structure or the content of any input data to another format, or even sometimes based on the request language output. For example, in the spoken language, you need two abilities to understand the language. One would be in data, we call it content, and that is in spoken language is the vocabulary, it's the terminology, and it's the structure, which is equal to grammar, and that's the ontology. And together, we used these two together to develop our own pivot ontology, which takes this entire process to another level. And here I want to speak about two different edges where this translator component can be used. One would be for data providers and the other would be for data consumers. So what it does for data providers, it provides data interoperability first and foremost. It's a specific skills framework alignment with international standards, like if you have Rome to ESCO or any national framework to an international one. It provides job or training data translation available in any European language. It's easy data diffusion with multiple data consumers. Also, skills extraction from job or trainings description, and we will go into this a bit deeper when we discuss the next use case, which I took Gen use case and described it a little bit in more details, what the translator and where the translator can be implemented in that use case. So what it does for data consumers, first of all, let's say that it's a shared data model co-constructed with the community. And here we work with HeyAI and Rejustify to build this component. And it's one data model for multiple data sources. It's an easy access to users' skills and experience data. It facilitates skills matching with job or training profiles, facilitates career path creation based on the user's profile. It harmonizes the data for specific or chosen framework. And what we have in the end is high quality data output. Now let me take you a little bit deeper into the Jan's use case, and thanks to Marie-Pierre and Frédéric for the explanation and in details what the use case is there for. And just to show you where the translator is implemented. So what MindMatcher does for Gen is it collects the relevant trainings, it collects the relevant job offers, it extracts the skills and skill blocks from the description of either jobs or the trainings. And here sometimes you receive different types of data and you need to translate this data into another format. Like it can be translating, it's very specific for the case, from Leo to pivot ontology. It can be translation from multiple data formats to a pivot ontology. It can be translation from unstructured data to pivot or framework. And in the end, what we have is interoperable data framework. To take this a little bit deeper into the engine of the translator building block, I would like to share with you this diagram. So sometimes the data that you are using is inside your ecosystem, as you can see here. It can be different format, it can be different type. But sometimes there are data that are not in your ecosystem and you have to mine the data. So there's also data mining engaged. And once all this data is collected, it goes into this onto terminology translator, and it's getting processed and getting mapped, vocabulary and grammatically mapped. And what we receive as a result, which is, let's say, the output of the translator, is semantic, high-quality, interpretable data. This is a very high-level description. Please leave comments and questions if you have in the Q&A section. So far, that's it from me, and I'll be happy to answer to your questions.
Thanks a lot, Asia. And indeed, now is the time for questions. We've had some in the Q&A and some have been answered. I saw somebody raising their hands. Actually not, it's to you, Laszlo, and how to start. So I'll let you go first. And so that leaves time for everybody to prepare their questions.
Okay, we are receiving questions, but before answering the questions, let me then just quickly summarize how to start with all of this. So, of course, we have some components already available, and as we mentioned, we have the design documents for these components available. So, just to give you an overview on how we are with this. So we have the Dataspace connector available, as presented by Felix. We are enrolling releases of these building blocks in different, let's say, timing. We would have released from some of these by June. Some of them are already available. We will have the next round around September, sorry, and another one around November, when these building blocks will be evolving. First version of all these components will be available this year, maybe not fully functional, but supporting some of these scenarios. We have on our website, we have a high-level description of these building blocks. We have short summaries and we have longer but non-technical summaries on what's the purpose of each building blocks. Plus, we have a longer, maybe too technical, but detailed documentation of the overall approach of the data space, or for generic, let's say, requirements and methods we follow. Plus, for all of the building blocks presented or mentioned today, we have design documents for those building blocks which are already available. We have also, let's say, deployment and configuration information available as well. So you can also try and test some of these right today by yourselves as well. And if you're interested in more detailed information and, let's say, a deep dive on how it's really working, then our next event would be, first, we would have a tech talk with IDSA on the 29th of May. You can see a QR code on which you can register. This would be a 1-hour talk where we would present how to create, let's say, smooth personal data sharing with the connector building on top of the Dataspace protocol. So we will, let's say, discuss and present in more details what's mentioned by Felix on the slide, and see where you can see concrete use cases and actually working blocks there. We would then start a series of technical workshops as well. The first one would be on the 6th of June, which would be how to set up, let's say, a small scale, but a real data space. So how to combine these bricks to craft a bridge for your data, how you can set up this architecture. We will present the core components, but not only present them, but also we would have a workshop on showing you how to make these things actually work. And for us, as I think Matthias already mentioned, it's very important to get your feedback as well. So this would be an event also for collecting feedback from participants. So you are, again, very much invited to join this event. and share your thoughts, share any of your feedback requirements, if any use cases, ideas, questions, just as you are doing as well in the Q&A section right now. And then we will have 2 additional workshops coming in autumn. One would concentrate more on the skills and learning components of this entire ecosystem and building block selection. And another one would concentrate more on the trustworthy and decentralized building blocks. So how to make this thing actually robust, scalable, and privacy preserving. These workshops would contain a bit more deep dive sections. And of course, all of these would be interactive and we would need your feedback there. And in general, how to connect to our community is first, we have a website with the updates and news, also descriptions of use cases of building blocks or events, and also with pointers to more detailed technical documentation as well, which is the Prometheus-X.org. And we have a LinkedIn page, which you can again follow. And I think now I see some questions. I don't know whether you see all of these. Maybe, Matthias, can I pass you the questions related to the data space connector?
Yes, thank you, Laszlo. So we have indeed a question, I guess for Asia. What is the timetable or situation with terminology translator building blocks? Are they available? Maybe you can say a bit what's already more or less done under Ariane and then the rest.
Yes, it's my bad. Probably I should have added that in my presentation. Thanks for the question. Some of the components are ready, and the main testings are planned to be executed by September. And the entire building block is expected to be ready for the public use by the end of the year.
Thank you, Adrian. So indeed, we are testing it, and you see we have these different use cases where these building blocks are being tested. But if you're interested in testing it, please contact us. That would be great. Then we've had some questions on will we share the slides, the recording, and so on. So of course, you'll receive a recap email with all the links. We had 2 questions on the kind of interoperability of the connector. So there was one question about Solid that I answered, but basically, yes, if you know Solid, to put it in a very basic way, it's technology on storing personal data and giving control to people on personal data stores. And so we are working with some, let's say, powerful or legitimate organizations, experts on Solid in Europe, so IMEC in Belgium and Starting Blocks in France, to connect Solid pods to this Prometheus Dataspace connector and allow data to be shared to and from the data spaces to Solid pods. And it will be quickly covered in the IDSA webinar Laszlo mentioned, but we'll probably have a more in-depth webinar once we've have some first results to show on this. And then there was a question about the interoperability with other IDS connectors. So that's a question for all the IDS connectors. What I would say and what I answered on that is we do respect the IDS data space protocol. So in theory, it should work with any other connector. However, we extend that protocol with consent management. And consent management, individual consent management, supposes an extra step, extra checks, links with the person's identity. And so if the connector you're talking about does not enable that, and to my knowledge, we're the only ones today that do, then it can't work because you won't have a way to handle individual consents. But on the rest, on non-personal data sharing, where there's no need for a consent, then it should be interoperable. And as I said in the chat, if you have a use case that would make sense to test this interconnection, then we would be happy to test it. Portal and other components. Yes, all the developments have started. Not entirely sure what you mean by portal, but if you mean the catalog, it is indeed more or less ready, can be used. It is on the GitHub, so you can for sure contribute to it. And if you'd like to use it or use some testing version, please contact us. Always looking forward to new users and new testers. And on our website, you can find the more explanation about each of the building blocks, because here we covered some, and then links to more precise technical documentations. So some are still work in progress, but that will give you a more in-depth idea. And then we had two questions about the consent. So what happens when a consent is revoked? When a consent is revoked, the data can no longer be accessed from the data provider, and today a notification is sent to the data consumer to say this consent is no longer valid. We are working on extra components to allow more automatic deletion when that is possible and legal. And on the delegation, it is also something that will be supported on the consent management.
I think there was also a question to me on data value chain tracker, on which I sent a link for the detailed specification. The question was to tell a bit more on the underlying technologies and its architecture. We plan to do it in a decentralized way. We are evaluating the use of blockchain, specifically the Ethereum blockchain, and some wallet technologies which would enable for participating entities to use and store their own, let's say, utility tokens, for which we are setting up scenarios how to incentivize different participants of the data space in sharing and managing their data within the data space.
So we have also a question about the VR and learning analytics. Yes, there is an XAPI profile. There will be other webinars going more in depth on this, but as mentioned, you can go on the website and go on the more precise documentation of this building block. I'll comment the website again under your question, Erwin. Put my email if you want to contact on testing components and so on. But so if we don't have any other questions, thanks a lot. I hope it was interesting. We'll have regular of these webinars to present other use cases, other building blocks. We have these more technical webinars to dive more deeply in the technical aspects. And we hope this will be useful to you when you want to use it and test it in your own projects. And please contact us if you need any kind of support for this. Thanks for the cheers. And have then a great evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Okay, thanks everybody. Good job. Thanks Emilia. Thanks Patrick for all the great support and work and setting up the website. Great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, see you soon. Bye
See
bye.
you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you.